fair to call that a painful loss for the Indiana Fever in more ways than one. Obviously, no Fever fan is going to want to see Dewana Bonner getting hers and talking trash and getting in the team's face and seemingly punking the Fever in a sense. At least, that's how some of the fans are going to take it when the Fever are often the team that gets pushed around a little bit, and you want to see them push back a little bit more. And kind of part of what happened in the Mercury and Fever game, but also part of what happened is the nature of the schedule and the fact that Fever were playing 4 games in 7 days, which leads to the real negative aspect of this game. Not that the Fever lost to the Mercury and got blown out by the Mercury, but that the Fever lost some more players. We'll see how long, but Sidney Colson with what looked like a bad knee injury and Ari McDonald with a foot injury as well, that leaves them with no point guards, which will leave them in a place where they may have to make roster decisions coming up. And then, of course, with Caitlin Clark still on the sideline, you hope it doesn't, give her that sense that she needs to rush back, because obviously, it's the stupidest thing in the world to have even uttered the sentences that the Fever may be better without Caitlin Clark. I think they're now 500 since she went out the last time around or in total on the season, which is actually okay, right? Like if you just look at it in the most logical 30,000 foot view, to split that road trip at Dallas, at Seattle, at Los Angeles, at Phoenix isn't really that bad, and they have been doing the necessary treading of water. That win streak really helped them out. Still 3 games over 500. So big picture, not in a bad position, which means you have to continue to look at the big picture in the way you're looking at how Caitlin Clark is going to return. But looking at the small picture in this game, there was a bunch of stuff going on. You had the little talk from Bonner here to Lexi Hull, who's getting pushed around by a moving screen from Alyssa Thomas here, and a little front running from the Mercury as well, because I believe Alyssa Thomas skipped the media availability after the Mercury lost to the Fever. But of course, after the Mercury beat the Fever, she and Dewana Bonner are all too happy to talk, all too happy to get out there and discuss the return, if you will, against the old team, but this time in Arizona.
It was, whew, yeah, I don't know, emotions are kind of high. Honestly, it's just been a journey to get back to just being happy playing basketball again. Um, yeah, I'm just the joy of trying to find that for a minute. Basketball was kind of like off the radar for me a little bit. I didn't know if I loved it anymore. Like, had a long conversation with Alyssa, so just to feel that again, feel that energy, feel this from that building was just amazing. And I feel like it was a game that I needed to, remind me, like, I love this. I love being here. I love Phoenix. I love playing basketball. And yeah, I can't wait to do it again.
So, I mean, look, I want everybody to be happy, but not exactly a sob story, the saga of what took place with Dewana Bonner and the Indiana Fever. Meanwhile, you had Sophie Cunningham going back to her old team as well. And she also very happy with her current situation versus what her old situation was. This is what Sophie said after the game about the change.
Or just as an opponent tonight?
Yeah, AZ was good to me, but I'm way happier where I'm at now. It was good to see people. It was fun to play in front of some fans. But for me, I'm way happier in Indiana.
Way happier in Indiana, and people are happy to have Sophie Cunningham in Indiana, because when you talk about that toughness and spunk, she is one of the players that brings that. They're missing Caitlin in that respect too. Not only do they miss Caitlin as the kind of player she is, but Caitlin is spicy out on the court also. Caitlin will talk. Caitlin, will push back a little bit. All those things that I think fans want to see from the Indiana Fever, because the Indiana Fever are the team that does have the target on their back. They are the team that, everybody's going to want to show up. And when you go into the season saying every game is a home game and all that sort of stuff, now, well, that's going to rub people the wrong way as well. And that's all good competitive stuff. But you want, players on your team who are going to make sure you're not backing down from those challenges And that's why Sophie Cunningham has become so beloved. You can really mix it a whole bunch of different ways, but I think ultimately that's the number one thing. Not to mention she's playing really good right now, but you just see her fight out there and her compete out there. But the big question for the Fever now is what's going on with the injuries and the status of their point guard position, because they have none. They have no point guard right now. If McDonald can't play, hopefully that one is minor. Sydney Colson looked concerning. And then, so what do you do with the roster wise and hardship contracts and possible waivings of players and things like that have to come into play if that does indeed come into play? And Lexi Hull is another player to point out, barely, doing anything out there. 1 of 11 from the floor, 0 of 8 from 3. She has been mired in an incredible slump as of late, really struggling without Caitlin Clark. And the, quote unquote, blessing in disguise is going to go away real fast the longer they play without Caitlin Clark, who probably, from everything we've seen, is now within a couple weeks away, I would hope. The latest information that was on the ESPN broadcast and that I've heard is the full court running, but hasn't participated in basketball activities yet. She's doing rehab and recovery stuff. So I guess the next step is drills, and then the next step would be practice. And it's probably almost a 2-week ramp up process. So you have to hope they start the clock on the ramp up process soon. That's when you'll know she's on the way to a return, which I would guess is within the next 2 weeks. And they're going to need it, but you can't rush it because they're going to need her at 100% at the end of the season. Let's end all this on a positive, because Diana Taurasi has been doing some media lately with her new Amazon Prime show, and she spoke about Caitlin Clark, and I thought some people would like what she had to say, particularly the last bit here, because there's no mistaking the words.
How do you feel about the generation coming to these younger girls' events so quickly?
Right. I think it's great. I think that's what makes sports great, right? Not everyone can be loved and not everyone can be hated. There has to be a happy medium. And I think that's what makes it so exciting right now with this new generation. And we talked about how they used their social platforms to really push the game forward. And, if anything, we can learn from them too. I think sometimes being, the older players or the oldest person in the room, you're always looking at the things that they have easy, but they've done some amazing things in a short time. And that's why the WNBA is where it's going also at this point, using their social platforms and their voice, in a time where it can be spread really easily, that message. So I love these kids. What Caitlin's done in the last 4 years is just mind blowing. The way she's taken her popularity, her fame, and really moved the game forward. But the thing I love the most about her is she loves the game of basketball. She works at it. She plays at a level that no one has reached yet in the WNBA. So, to me, I think she's going to take this league as far as she wants to.
She plays at a level that no one has reached yet in the WNBA. As far as all the impact stuff, that's why you see people still talking about her. They're better without her. Or, Donald Trump's going to do this. Or, Stephen A., the clip that blew up. I don't know if you saw that. But regardless, there's just an absence of Caitlin Clark in the conversation because she's been out injured. But I've always said the root of it is basketball. And that's what the Indiana Fever are missing, the basketball abilities of Caitlin Clark. The other stuff comes along with it. We'll see what the injury situation is for them, but a painful loss, a rough loss for the Fever in more ways than one. As far as just the loss in the column, I don't think it's a big deal. But no team can just afford to have the entire squad injured and continue to play at the same level. And again, it's not a coincidence probably that it happened in a condensed schedule again, in a condensed stretch of the schedule again. Please like and subscribe to the channel. You can leave your comments and all that stuff. I'm actually at the beach right now. You can see the surroundings. So get back to the regular live cadence next week, but wanted to make sure I got this one in, even though it hurts. Sorry.